see how many people jump on here. Doo-doo-doo. Oh, there's Gary. Hey, man. Oh, it's cold, Gary. It's cold up here now. A lot of snow. There's Cody, probably Henry. There's Trapper Dan there. Steven. What's going on, guys? Starting to roll in here pretty good. All right, getting them on there, just kind of waiting till the whole gang's here. Okay, hey everybody, good deal. Just waiting on people to get on here and talk about this cold here. It's about 17 degrees out here. We've probably got about, I'd say 8 or 9 inches of snow on the ground. Had about 8 the other day and about another inch last night, 1.5 inches last night. Wind's picking up just a little bit, but did some plowing. There's Josh. Hey, man. Went out and plowed my driveway and plowed my mother-in-law's and her neighbor, Gary. Just got 55 and a half, freaking cold out. You know that. Had a little interference problem there. Hope it ain't gonna be one of them nights again. But yeah, I think tonight's subject is gonna be insulation. You know, we talked about everybody carrying their cars and stuff last week, and you know the cold weather. Well, let me catch you up on what I'm doing. I got new software on my computer with the help of my brother. Getting it set up, and then my brother doesn't know editing, so Blackie Thomas has the same software, so I've been talking to him a lot, almost every day now, trying to edit videos. I did put a video up. Still struggling with it. Today I shot test videos with my camcorder. Now I've got to take it from the camcorder to the computer and start editing on that one. The editing doesn't seem right now as hard as putting it in and where I'm moving it in files. So thank God for my brother and Blackie Thomas for helping me get through this stuff. It's been frustrating and trying to learn more about computers, and just ain't my thing, guys. It's but I'm learning. But like I said, today I was out in the snow. It's all just test videos, just somewhere where I can learn how to edit even better and get them done. Get these things done. Got a lot of information need to go out. I did shoot some videos on the trap line this year, but we just got to get them going, you know. Man, there's a lot. Okay, hey Ronnie, Walt, and Mike Denny. Hey guys. So that's what I've been doing with the snow coming on. Like I said, I had to plow some driveways. My neighbor to my mother-in-law's, he had back surgery, so I was down there doing that. It kind of went a little hard. It's kind of hard on my back, you know, plowing snow, bouncing and stuff and pushing. Lower the comments so the comments won't cover your face. Better than that. My cameras won't even work in these temps. Yeah, I was kind of shocked. I'm running an old JVC camcorder, small one that I got out of a pawn shop years ago. I actually shot I shot the first YouTube video, test video on it, probably 7 or 8 years ago. I never put it up. I was actually walking, and it's kind of hard for me to watch because I'm, you know, walking and squatting down and doing what I need to get done. But the camcorder did really good. I had the small battery in it. I was surprised at how good it lasted out there for being 17 degrees out. So it's a big learning curve. It's taken me longer than I thought it would to get going, but it's just what it is. What Josh said, I'm getting ready to go to bed. To bed a bottom. Oh, metal kit and action on the rifle. I'm considering filming it. What do you think, Dan? Absolutely, Josh. Film it, dude. Film that, bedding that rifle. It's funny. It's good to watch. People need to know that and understand about bedding. Henry loves the snow. Haven't taken him out with it being so cold, but when it's 20, feels like warm. We go out. Oh, heck yeah, man. Well, when we was kids, you couldn't keep me in the house. I love this stuff. I was out today and I got to bundle up, and I got to be really careful about falling. And I tighten up, and I think that puts more strain on my back because I'm walking around like, man, am I going to fall when I get around certain areas? My driveway's actually a sheet of ice, so I let like an inch of snow on top of it. Where the sun's been out, we've had bluebird skies, man, for 4 or 5 days. And today was kind of cloudy, and it melts the snow, and then it refreezes at night. So just got to be careful out there, you know. But, yeah, when I was younger, I couldn't stay out of this stuff. I absolutely loved it. But, yeah, Josh, I'd like to see that video on bedding. I've bedded a few rifles and over the years. Most of them were older antique rifles, trying to make them shoot better. Haven't done it in years, but bedding's an interesting deal. And we'd call it bedding and then free floating the barrels, and it gets your accuracy up. When I was building or playing with sniper rifles, we got them tuned in pretty good on that. Colder. You ain't kidding, December. Walt, where's your location, Walt? What state you in? Ronnie Adams. Yeah, guys, this is funny. I'm wearing this because tonight's discussion. Actually, this is a cheaper Walmart jacket. It's killer warm, man. It's super thin. If you guys are familiar, we can go ahead and get it. Tonight's discussion, guys, what I want to talk about is the insulation. And mainly the insulation we run on the ground, because up here I don't have, we have pine trees, and when we do find them, usually the branches are too high to use any boughs for the ground around here. And I was thinking all this week about, in a discussion, we have to usually bring something, Kansas, wow. It is cold out there. We're up in the northern belt like us. So what I want to discuss is, because like I see a ton of YouTube videos, you know, guys are out and they get to the forest and they cut down all these pine boughs. And we do have pines here, and the majority of pines have been planted by us. There are really not too many native species that was native here. I've got pine in my yard, but I ain't gonna cut up my trees to do a video on that. But a lot of woods that I go to do not have the pine in them. So tonight's discussion, we talked about, what's in our cars and stuff like that last week. And I think it's a good factor. And I'm reading comments. Josh, I'm new here, but there's a lot of information available and figured out who would benefit someone else. Well, that's good, Josh. That's what we're here for, man. It's just an open discussion. But tonight's forum, is about insulation. And I was trying to remember how I used to do it. And I'll shoot a video on it, how I used to camp and how I used to, go deer camping. We went when I started going deer camp, it was 6 days a week. We didn't have any hunting on Sunday. So, and owning a tent and owning a camper was just, not heard of. And if we did have a camper, somebody did get a cheap camper, it was one of them pop-ups, which is just canvas. And, but we relied a lot on our bedrolls and a piece of canvas wrapped around our sleeping bags, or we doubled up to keep us off the ground. So it was, and we was doing, temperatures like today. 17, 18, whatever. I've actually deer hunted. Our deer season is end of November, 1st of December, and I've deer hunted when it's 75 degrees out, and I've deer hunted when it was 10 below zero out. So you have to have a good range and be ready to set up, but there's a lot of times I laid on the ground. And if you guys are familiar with the movie Jeremiah Johnson, when he wakes up and he throws his blankets off of him, underneath snow, and one of his horses was dead. I've done that. My bedroll's laying right here on the floor. This was my newer one I made probably about 3 years ago. and it's got my high dollar wool blankets in there. But I know a lot of guys talk about, man, a wool blanket. You go out wool blanket 17 degrees and let me know how it works out for you. You got to have a really good piece of canvas around you. It really locks down the wind. It really holds the heat, but you got to have insulation on the ground. That's what we're going to talk about today. Is bear grease, pine needles, leaves, and moss makes great insulation. You're right. But we've got to have, what did we use? What did I use specifically in my area? And that was leaves, guys. Even wet leaves. I mean, if they ever froze the ground, we were raking them up. I talked to Blackie Thomas today, about, we did a lot of snow shelters. We wanted the snow. The snow means it wasn't raining, which is good. But the snow meant it would lay on top of our tarp, and it would insulate that tarp. It would, insulate everything. We actually made snow caves. Who knows how many snow caves I made just kids growing up. We just called them forts. We spent the night in them, and a candle will keep you warm. So we can use snow as insulation. But today's modern, we didn't have these insulated air mattresses like we have today. We didn't have, all this modern super lightweight down like it is today. I did own a down vest when I was about 15 years old, and I never took it off till I outgrew it. This coat, why I wanted to talk about this coat while I have it on is because it's thin, it's a synthetic down, it's not real down. It's not really, they're not really good for waterproof, but man, is this coat warm. I can go outside, it stops the wind, and it's not very thick, guys. This is a very thin down coat. My wife got it for me on sale at Walmart for like 17 bucks, and 2X large. But because we got to build layers, but it's our first line of protection. If we're out deer hunting and we get lost and stuff, is what we have on. And I was talking about, talking to Blackie today is, I could tell you countless times when I was bow hunting, and I like stalking on the ground, but I had tree stands. But you can't wear your heavy stuff while you're out stalking or getting to your tree stand. Back then we had to walk all the time. We didn't have the four-wheelers and side-by-sides. And so what would happen is I would take my clothes and wrap them up, take a piece of cord and tie them up and use them like a knapsack. But yeah, that's the other thing. And so I'm carrying a lot of bulk because when you're deer hunting, you're going to sit still. And now you need to put all that bulk on just to keep from not moving. So it was, that was another thing is carrying bulk. I mean, when we carried our sleeping bags and our wool blankets and our canvas, you're right, it's heavy. Even beaver pelts and deer pelts, they're bulky and heavy. But you gotta insulate yourself from the ground. Now today, right here, this is what I used, and everybody knows what this is. This is reflective. I actually got this off Blackie Thomas. We were doing some experiments in a hammock with this. I've actually put this in my hammock underneath between my underquilt and me just to see how much big a difference it made. But this is modern day technology. This weighs very little for the insulation value that I get from the ground. Plus it's a vapor barrier, to keep the moisture from coming up. It can stand to get wet. So this is one of the, I think this would be a great, for your kit and backpacking. And I just watched Wave Point Survival. He did his last video was, they went out camping somewhere in Kentucky, and he was running all primitive stuff. So it was pretty interesting to watch him use older stuff, furs and stuff, and all the other guys. Every one of these guys had some kind of ground pad, because he actually used pine boughs. Where he was at, he cut up a bunch of pine boughs, and he was warm. But yeah, Josh, this is it's not, it is Mylar. It's an insulation. It's got this is like bubble wrap. It's got small bubbles in there. This is a lot tougher than Mylar. They use it for putting in walls and on your floor and stuff like that. You can get it at Lowe's. I've used a ton of it. over the years. There you go. Yeah, sunscreen for cars, same thing. You know, we're trying to reflect. This has a very little insulation value, but it's considered reflective. It reflects the heat. If it was just a true Mylar blanket, Far North Bushcraft Survival's got a great video on the survival blankets. They have the problem with survival blanket, if you sit on it or it actually touches you, it doesn't give, it needs to be reflective. It has no insulation value at all. It's a reflective. That means whatever heat you're putting off, and the study said as much heat as a human puts off is about a 90-watt light bulb. So anytime that heat's going to escape, if we can reflect it back to us, that's what we need to do. That's why ground pads like this stuff right here works back. It's keeping the heat or the cold at bay, but it's keeping the heat from penetrating the ground. When you're talking ground and tree logs resting up against them, they are a thermal mass. That means they got cold. The whole thing's cold, and it's going to take a whole lot of time to warm it back up. A thermal mass is like a battery. It absorbs heat and it'll release heat slowly. Well, it absorbs cold and it takes a long time for it to warm back up. So that's thermal mass, and the earth is a thermal mass. And when we sit on it, it'll just rob us. It'll make you freeze. It'll freeze to death sitting on the ground. We all know that, but it's just kind of explaining what a thermal mass is and what it does. So if we can stop that, you know, that thermal mass loss, because it's a lot bigger than us and it's going to rob what little heat we have. So we talk about the insulation around our bodies, but I was thinking, because of my resources and where I deer hunt and stuff, I do not have the pines. So I usually have to carry a man-made ground pad, something like that, if I was going to do it. Back in the day, like I said, we kicked every leaf. If it wasn't snowing, every leaf in that woods went, and you wanted to pile it. And I've heard stories of 4 to 6 inches is great. No way, man. We wanted 2 foot. 2 foot of compression, man, you know. And then if you laid your tarp on it, even though the leaves were wet, the canvas is basically waterproof to some extent. We didn't have any problem with that. But I've always put 2 foot of bedding down. You just had to in Ohio. It was that cold. And like I said, every year was different on weather around here. The rock thing works. We used to do that. I noticed we did that. We usually had 3-sided lean-tos. I didn't know about the super shelter. Man, I wish I'd have had just a clear piece of plastic over my 3-sided lean-to. Just you couldn't believe if I knew what that was, how much warmer I'd have been. But we tried the rock methods. When you run a lot of leaves, you know, you could actually catch them on fire. But you could also, you could get burnt with them. You got to be careful with them. I see their uses. We sit them right next to each other, just let the heat reflect off of them. But really, guys, I think I was a lot younger. We were a lot hardier. We worked a lot harder. I did. I can't move like I used to back then to stay warm. When we would go to deer camp, there was a ton of walking involved. We didn't have the conveyances like we do today. So it was straight up, straight down walking. So you were wore out at the end of the day. We stung around a fire. We ate a lot of fattening stuff, and we went to bed. And, you know, you were going to bed at 7 and 8 o'clock at night because it's dark. And you were back up before daylight getting ready. Even if we jumped in the trucks and went somewhere, you know, to drive there, we did a lot of driving. And so sleep was a premium. But if you don't get a good night's sleep in this cold, you know, you're miserable. So that's what I want to talk about is even in your car, I believe you should carry some form of reflectors like this. You never know you had to get away from your car. Hey, James. We also didn't know what we'd do today. You're absolutely right. This has been a learning curve. I've learned a ton. Yep, warm when you're driving deer, cold when you're sitting. And that's the problem. I don't know how many times we dressed really warm, then you go out there and start humping the mountains, and you're wringing wet. And I've been down a t-shirt in the 20s. I mean, a camouflage t-shirt. It might be a long sleeve, but it was a t-shirt. All my stuff slung on my back, shotgun in my hand, because back in that's all we could hunt with. And you know, I've actually seen my buddies. He come down off his big hill. We was waiting on him. His name was Greg, and he had the toboggan on. And I mean, he was just wringing wet. And he pulled his hat off, and it was funny because you could see the steam just coming off his head. I said, "Man, you need to drop some clothes because now he's wringing wet." And so this wasn't that long ago. So the trailer with propane heater in there, you know, he was fine. But if he'd have been ground pounding in a tent or something, that'd have been you'd have to change all your clothes and let them dry. So, I mean, that's just, and then if you're going to drag a deer, I mean, you'll be cooking, sweating your butt off. Usually some guys carrying your guns, your coats, and everything because you're dragging deer. It was just, but I was going back to all the old stuff I used and trying to not talk about. I mean, it's got its part. The new modern stuff's got its part. There's no doubt about that. I mean, I'd love to have a daggone climate insulated ground pad, man. I mean, come on. You know, the older I get, the more crap I need because I don't like sleeping cold. So it was, but I was trying to figure out how we did it. And in my area was leaves. James, I'm big and I get real hot real quick. Well, I used to too. I used to love the cold weather. I hate the heat. I like the cold weather. I could tolerate it where most people couldn't. Walt, he says, I carry a tube of extra heavy wide aluminum foil in the car. Great in a pinch. Yep. Aluminum foil is a reflector. You can do a lot with aluminum foil. You used to always carry a slab of that in your pack anyway. I remember I was up in Michigan mushroom hunting, and the guy says, man, you wear too much gear. And I said, dude, I don't know where I'm at, and I got my gear with me. And we had a little campsite, and we was grilling out and everything. We had all the groceries there, and nobody got no tinfoil. And that one guy yelled at me, and he said, I bet you ain't got no tinfoil in that pack. And I throwed him a roll of it. It's like, because I had it all folded up and compressed. I said, really? I mean, tinfoil's that important. There's Steve. Hey, Steve. So, I mean, we're talking about ground insulations, trying to stay warm. Steve's from around my area. He's north of me. We don't have the pines for pine boughs. So I was explaining to him, you know, we used leaves, but I didn't do 3, 4, 6, 8 inches. I did 2 feet of leaves. Number one, it's comfortable. You know, you want comfort, but you got to seal all them air gaps around you. Them little, I'm finding out my hammock, even around my neck, you know, I got that new blanket and I got headgear. If there's one little hole right here, you're going to find that hole. So when we piled them leaves up so thick, you'd compress down, but they're around you. Now you had your piece of canvas up and your fire over here. So really I could stay, I mean, I slept good. I slept warm all the time. But that was my main source of insulation here in Southwest Ohio. Like I said, we didn't have all the pine trees with all the pine boughs. We didn't have, you know, I see all these pine needles these guys got, man, they can pile them up, you know. Me and Blackie was talking about some of the deer blinds that we built was bales of straw. I always had access to straw. I got the older straw starting to rot on the bottom. Man, you put that up around you, put a roof of plywood on top of it. I've been well below zero and been hot in them. You know, we used to make them out of straw, old straw barrels. Good point, carry needles and thread to repair claw. Yeah. But it was, yeah, no large groves of cedar. So Steve's in my area. He can explain to you that, you know, about the only insulation we got on the ground, if it ain't man-made, is leaves. That's readily available. Now you're going to have different places, and there are pines and there are cedars, but in my area, the majority of where I deer hunt, southern Ohio, stuff like that, we don't have pines. So, but I carried a lot of wool blankets. I carried an MSF sleep system. I had an old military sleeping bag where that thing weighed 400 pounds. It's funny how much crap you'll carry in because of adrenaline getting ready for deer camp, and then how heavy it is when you come out. after a week and being wore plumb out, how heavy that crap was. And that was a true U.S. military sleeping bag. I mean, I found them and they're very expensive today, but they're like 20 below or 30 below bags. I remember, you know, I was a lot littler than I am now and just crawling in that thing and being just fine. So it's just tough if you don't carry it in. And if you get in a survival situation, say you did get lost out here in the snow like we're having, you know, you went out trapping or new property and you got lost and you're going to make it through the night, you've got to understand the insulation on the ground. We've got the insulation on us. While we're moving, we're good. But when we go to lay down, you don't want to fall asleep in this crap. Bundle of hay out in the field in a pinch. Yeah, we've done it. We've done a lot of hay. MSF sleeping system, I own one. I used a lot of it. It's just not big enough when it comes up out here to me. Do you have moss in the area? Moss, clay? No, not a whole lot. We do have some moss around the creeks, but not a lot. Well, this is a hardwoods area. That's what we get. Gear was dry and going. Always damp clothing after a week out. Yep. GI 20 degree bag, it's awesome. Yep, that 20 degree bag's nasty. It's a nasty thing. I like it. Yeah, very little. Very little. You can find some moss here, but very little. I've explained the state of Ohio. The worst time to live in the state of Ohio would be from January till spring, because everything's really locked down. We usually got a ton of snow. Even the animals struggle. You know, this is I call it the dead time. You know, spring's easy to survive, summer's easy to survive, fall would be easy to survive, a lot of game movement, but when it gets cold and that kind of snow, it gets tough. All right, James, man, be good. No pines, no moss. That's brutal. Well, and that's why I'm explaining it. You know, everybody who's on this channel, it lives in a different area. So it's, you know, we learn to use snow as an insulator this time of year like the Eskimos. You don't have to build no monster snow cave. You'd be surprised how little bit of, if you put a tarp down that snows on top of it, or you pile your snow on top of it, and just put your, you know, kick up all your leaves, even though they're wet, put your daggone canvas down. You know, you can put visqueen down now, or reflectors down, and you'd be surprised how much insulation you have on that. Your body heat will actually put a coating of ice on that and really lock it down. So many nights I've spent in snow caves in Ohio, and at 10 below, just fine. And that's a candle keeping it lit. Yeah, Steve, because we're in hardwoods, we have abundance of leaves. You know, water soaked and frozen. I'm thinking you talking about your clothes. But it was, I was telling Blackie a story today that during the blizzard of 1978, we had 26 inches of snow in 24 hours, and we had sustained winds of 60 mile an hour. I think the last report we had, total snow accumulation was like 42 inches, if I remember my numbers right. And so me and my neighbor, we built I was at my grandma and grandpa's house, which was actually my mom's house at the time. And he had a big picnic table back here, and we took a roll of visqueen. Now, you got to remember, man, I'm 55 years old, and visqueen was a newer deal. You didn't see a lot of it. When I seen visqueen, it's so light to carry to make tents. But we put that over that picnic table and sealed it in. We had a hole in it. We had our candles out there. We were on the grass. We had plenty of insulation underneath us of sleeping bags and blankets. And we camped out on the first night of blizzard 78. And woke up in the morning, everybody's checking on us, you fine? I couldn't believe how warm we was in there. Now we're talking temperatures of 21 below zero. We're talking wind speeds of 60 mile an hour. But yes, I was in a plat with other houses, so it was really blocking the wind. The snow dumped on us and insulated that whole thing. And I could not believe we were in and out of it all night. We were out of school for like a week or 10 days because of that blizzard. We didn't have some great snowfall. It was a 60 mile an hour winds made drifts as high as houses. So it'll give you an idea how bad the Blizzard 78 was. I've been 9 years old. I was having a ball. January's water soaked and frozen. It's either one of the two, and it goes freezing tonight and thawing out in the sun in the daytime. Ohio's tough, guys. It is tough. I was shooting a video today, and here's another way. I've been studying the humidity on these storms. One reason, because I'm hurting. I get to hurting bad. It's been the last bad couple days because we've had these storms coming in. Now, we got a snowstorm coming in, and it's been 80 and 90, 98% humidity, 100% humidity, and it's killing me. And then today I went out and shot a video. It's 17 degrees with 40% humidity. Now, 17 degrees, you should be able to see my breath. You cannot see my breath. I was shooting it on video. Nothing, no steam's coming out. It's so dry, it just eats it up. But if I go out there and it's 33 degrees and the humidity's up, you can see my breath. It's amazing how that works. I couldn't see my breath, and I caught that off Survival Rush. I've been watching him and his winter stuff, and he talks about not seeing your breath, even though it's bitter cold. He gets a lot of comment. Well, it can't be that cold. I don't see your breath. That's got to do with the humidity levels. So it's kind of something to. Minnesota's tougher. I agree with you, Jonathan, on that. I think be safe out there, man. All right, see you, Walt. I believe that it's why the state of Ohio is tough, and I know up northern states get colder than we do, and winds and a lot more snow, but you get used to that. I believe that the state of Ohio is tougher because I can go from above 35 degrees and everything melting to down to 15, 17, 0 degrees. And this stinking fluctuation we get, heavy snows, next week we're dropping down to zeros. And I think that what makes it tough. There you go, Steve. I didn't think about the ash trees. Yeah, there's plenty of dead ash trees now. Cottonwood would be another good one. A dead cottonwood bark would be another one. Yeah, Josh, rapid change in Ohio, bad. It was brutal. Here, 84 degrees day. That's just sad, Pam. It'd make me sick to be in 84 degrees right now. It'd make me sick. My house is set at 67 degrees. And it feels good. You go outside, you walk around, you come back, and you open that door, it's like, woo, it's warm in here. So it'll give you an idea. But she's down there at 84 degrees. I don't know what my mom was. She lives down in Naples down there. But, 84 degrees ain't bad. But I do believe that the state of Ohio has such a wicked fluctuation sometimes. I've talked to this a lot with Blackie because where he lives in Alabama, southern Alabama, he gets tropical heat. And even he said the problem with the heat is they get used to the 104, 105 degrees, 100% humidity. Well, drop that down to 60 that night and see how you feel. You're going to be freezing, man. At 60 degrees, you're going to be freezing because you guys got used to 90s and 100s. So it's the same thing we're talking about. Took sense of canoe ride after work. Thanks, Pam. Rub it in. You come up here and try to do a canoe ride today, you'll be sliding across the lakes. They're starting to freeze over, finally. But it was, it's that fluctuation. Blackie's talking about, he's seen a 50-degree fluctuation in his area, and I have too. I've seen that. 2 years ago, we went to Central Ohio Bushcraft. It was 75 degrees when we got there setting up. We were sweating, talking about cold front come in. We were below 32 in less than 12 hours. So that's state of Ohio. That's a tough swing, And I don't know how many times I've been out in it from that. Did you see the 9-foot python took about 10 minutes from me? I've seen something on that, Pam. I'm not sure. Yeah, 120 on deployment and 15 degrees back. Went from 8 degrees Monday in Minnesota to 89 in Miami. Shock to the system. Yeah, my brother traveled all over the United States in environmental business. And they shipped him from Texas, South Texas to Canada one time in the wintertime. And he was down there at 70 degrees, 80 degrees. And they put him on a plane with no gear. He got off the plane, thought he was going to die. 20 below, middle of Canada. I don't know where he went to Canada, but he spent like $400 on clothing. You know, had to. Company paid for it, but you know, what are you going to do? Your body can't even do that. I mean, even Blackie struggled when he come up here. He did good at night in a 1-1 gear, but it took him too long to acclimate. So he come back in the house because he's coming from 65, 70 degrees to 14, and it was tough on him. It takes the body too long to acclimate. When I worked out in this weather all the time. I hated sitting in the office. I was always looking at different projects. Yeah, do I get cold? Absolutely I get cold, but it's funny if you leave your windows down in your truck, not all the way, you know, not driving down the road 60 miles an hour, but when I'm stopped, I'm inspecting stuff, I left my windows down, I just kept my body this way. I got home, you know, I stayed out in the garage. The other day it was about 22 degrees outside. There's heat in my garage. It's too lazy to get it fired up. I'm working on my M50 stove. I was just fueling it up, and no gloves on, just normal working. Didn't think too much about it. I was hitting a pumper, and you know, going to fire it up and play with it. I mean, it was gifted to me. Pumped it up, getting ready to do it, and the last pump, I tightened down the lid, pumped it up. When I let go of it, the valve went bad, and it squirted all the fuel out me, all down my pants. I was like, dadgummit, man. But instantly, my hand like to froze. You put that white gas on there, it like it froze my hand. Even though I was used to it, I didn't think I was cold until that white gas hit me. And it was like, holy crap, my froze. You can't wipe it off fast enough. So it was just my body's starting to acclimate to this cold if I try to stay out in it. Been staying in here a lot because of editing. Been on the phone. Blackie works nights, so he calls me in the early morning. We work on editing. The other night he called me at, what was it, 10 o'clock my time. We didn't get off the phone until 12:30 working on editing. So I'm paying my dues on the editing, put it that way. I'm learning, guys. It's tough, but it was, so I'm not staying outside. I stayed outside plowing snow, but it beats my back up. I don't want to take a fall. So I go out there and I got to get out of the house. We call it cabin fever. I don't know what you guys call it up there, but wintertime you get stir crazy in the house being in here too much. Oh, it did, Jonathan. When I pushed on that valve and let off of it, that check valve went by and just squirted all down there. You couldn't believe how fast my leg froze. And like I said, I was comfortable. I didn't have my gloves on. I was working. I was cool, you know. And bam. Many Irish bushcraft friends north of Toronto, Terracona. I've learned a lot. Wear layers. Steve, I might not be able to see all your comments, brother. My brother says I need to do this on my iPad before I can read them comments. But, yeah, layering clothes, man. I mean, there's times I've walked out of here and feel like the Michelin man, you know, because I got so much stuff on. I don't like to be that restricted. So what I do is I wear, I've got my level 2s on right now, the Poly Pros. I've got a pair of pants on, and then I'll put my overalls on. And I like my overalls to be almost 2 times too big because you got to move around in them. And then, but I got to have overalls. I can't handle the one-piece suits. They're too binding and restricting, especially when I was working. Walking around, I took a picture the other day when we had about 8 inches of snow here. And I was out on the back porch walking around my yard barefoot. That's what Pam wants to know. Can you explain that? There's 2 things. My feet used to freeze. And I remember my mom bought me a pair of electric socks. This is how long ago. It took a D-size battery. And you put them on, man, that was great. But man, when you went deer hunting, my feet froze and I couldn't stand it. I noticed when on a metal tree stand, you're 10 times even colder on your feet. And an old timer told me, he says, while you're doing that, you need to walk around and let your feet get cold. He says, before you go to bed, go outside, walk around your house in the snow. I go until I can't stand it. And it's like, holy crap. And I let the dog out before I go to bed. I'll go down there and stand in the snow. I took a picture. It was snowing like crazy, and I stand out there and I took a picture of my feet and sent it to Black. He said, ha ha. It was up to my ankles, the snow was, at this time. And it was, I can go and go and go and go until I can't stand it. I come in, I dry my feet off, and then I go to bed. Well, what ends up happening is your brain, that's what the old timer told me, will send signals that your feet are in bad problems. They're super cold, and they'll send and open the corpuscles. That's what he told me they were. I don't even know what a corpuscle is. It's blood flow to your feet. And your body says, look, we're going to send a lot more blood flow to your feet. Opens them spaces up. Usually, and I do this all summer. I'll do it in the summertime, standing on the concrete, even though it's hot. It's colder than outside. But what that does, in the middle of the night, I'll find myself kicking the blankets off my feet because my feet are on fire. When I went down to North Georgia at Fuel the Fire, before I got my hammock, I stood on the ground with my socks on and just cooling my feet way down. Did my feet get cold? Yeah, but that's a different story because I didn't have my underquilts adjusted right. That's on me. But usually it's very odd for my feet to get cold. The second thing we found out is I run a tree lounge tree stand. It's all metal, it's all aluminum. The tree stand was always wood and I didn't like it. And so I changed it out for metal. Worst mistake I do. I don't care what kind of insulating muck boots you got. The best, my Mickey Mouse boots are sitting right there. You put them on that metal, your feet are froze. I put that wood back and it quit. It quit getting my feet cold. I cannot believe that steel, that little piece of steel can rob all the heat out of your foot. That's what tonight's discussion was about. So I do that to keep my feet, warm. Pam, I know you live down there, it's 84 degrees down there, like right now. But, put ice cold water in your bathtub and go stand in it until you can't stand it no more. Then go to bed, see if your feet ain't warmer. It's just an old trick that I used, and I think because we wear such insulated boots all the time, our feet don't get used to it. It's like, why do I have to produce any heat when I don't need to? And, the Native Americans wore moccasins. Yeah, they had insulated. They used straw and everything else to insulate their feet, but their feet were a lot hardier for the cold than what we are. I explain this to my wife. She freezes all the time. But remember, she lives in 67 degrees. She's probably got 110 degrees in her car on the way to work. And then when she gets to work, they got in there. So her body never gets acclimated to the cold because she's only outside for 5 minutes at a time going for a car, So I think that's why my wife freezes so bad, and because she don't go out in it. I took her for a buggy ride the other day, and we call it the buggy, the side-by-side I got. And she just can't. I mean, it was tough. There's no windshield in this thing. That's the next project's the windshield, because you get up to 20 mile an hour and it's 15 degrees outside. It's just brutal. I used to ride a motorcycle in that, but I had my helmet on. I have full heat on my outfit. I'm going to put the heat in the buggy, so it'll be crazy. Randall, hey man. Yeah, Pam, try that. I watched that Win Han on YouTube, and in cold weather, I do take cold showers this time of year. Now today, I took an extremely hot shower. I've just having a lot of back problems the last couple of days. And I get in there and I just cook my back. Just try to get it loosened back up. I feel a little bit better, lets me relax. But most of the time, if you felt my shower water, you'd say there's no way you're getting into it. But I take a colder shower, Yeah, Stephen, that's what I just said. I just ain't had time to plug it in. I still got my full heat. on the motorcycle and stuff, I'm gonna hook into my buggy. Yeah, because the steel toes, Josh, the steel toes, I used to have to wear them. And if you run steel, your feet are gonna freeze. The composites are a lot better. I had to, it was mandatory at work to wear steel toes in construction. So, but yeah, anything we can do that little bit, because I think why people don't stay outside in this cold weather as much is because they're uncomfortable. And they've had bad experience, so they tend to hibernate, in the summer. When we gain weight, we don't do much, we're not getting our walks in. And that's because we don't dress for it. If you looked at the guy who run this house as a full-blown farm, he was out every day, taking care of cattle and everything. He knew how to dress. Hot coffee does wonders. A bowl of soup, man, come in for lunch and eat a bowl of soup and go back out in this cold. You'll be like, it ain't cold out here. That's what I was talking about. Yeah, COVID, Steve, you're right. I say that C word, Steve. Yeah, but you're right, Steve. It's just a way of doing things. You're right, Josh. I mean, I think we need to, I like talking to Blackie because I guess we're considered old timers now. I don't feel like it. My back does, but I don't feel like it. And then I still talk to the older guys how they got by. They used a lot of leather gloves with insulated in there, because it's waterproof. They could waterproof them gloves. When you start talking to them guys, they were running overalls, baggy clothes. I see people, if I go to Walmart, I sit out in the parking lot while she runs in or whatever. I cannot believe the people in flip-flops and shorts and T-shirts. I'm just running in, I'm going back to the house, and I just see that, and I just laugh because if they blow a tire or they lose a fan belt on their car, they're going to figure what cold is. So it's, I understand they're comfortable, they're playing home on video games, and they run up to Walmart to get something, run back out. But not me. I've been cold. Me and the cold have an agreement. It leaves me alone, and I'll do what it tells me to do. Because it can be brutal. I've been bitter cold. I don't like it. That's what I find in my MSS traps air is key. It is. Air is air and insulator. Absolutely it is. Layers come off, and depending, in the state of Ohio, we've got to be fluctuating on levels. I've got to be able to take my clothes off. I think me and my wife's got coat issues because we own a ton of coats between us. And I don't think it's because I like the coat so much. I think it's over the years, we know we have our extreme cold weather coats, we have our cold weather coats, our mild coats, our okay coats, and then our jackets. And then you double them up, and then you hang them over here. And when I worked, it would be extremely cold in the morning. I would leave coats at work because it was so hot when you come home in a while. Where's my coat at? I left it at work. It's in my truck. And so we would leave her coats. She does it. She leaves them at work. She leaves them at, in her car. Oh, it ain't that bad in the car. We forget about it. And I think that's why in the state of Ohio we have a big coat rack. And it's just me and my wife here. And because difference of fluctuation temperature, you're going to need a coat, but you're going to need a coat for a long ride in the car. You want a jacket on then. Keep your coat in the car from when you get out. You don't want to, ride an hour, in this bundled huge coat, and that's why our coats get left behind. But we always have them. We talked about that, keeping them in the car and stuff last week. So I wear hoodies a lot that go underneath coats or over top of coats. That's Ohio for you. It fluctuates all day. I mean, I don't know what the temperature is now because the sun went down. I think it's going down to 14 today. Well, 14 from 17 don't seem bad. Go out there now. I bet you it's not colder. House coat, truck coat, work coat, same thing here. Yeah, Josh, how many coats you own, man? I mean, it's crazy how many coats we own. And I know my wife, she likes, she gets good deals on coats, and, this one matches her outfit, so she's got even extra coats on that. I like my Carhartt stuff, but I don't think Carhartt's as warm as something like this down on. I can put my Carhartt over this, I've got a camouflage hooded hunting jacket that's like down, and that thing will run you out of here. I can't wear that unless it's extremely cold out. I have a capote hanging right here, my green capote. It's a 100% wool blanket. I can't wear that unless it's extreme cold out. It just burn up. 15 coats and vests. We should fly. No way, I'd get my wife out here. We'll break the internet and take a picture of all her coats. Yeah, it's just funny how many coats we have because, you know, of the situation. Everything's different. It's funny, I've left a lot of coats lay. That was the other thing Jonathan brought up, a vest. I wear a vest. I wear a Carhartt vest that's got that fake wool in it. I would like to find another down vest. Maybe I'll show you guys my vest from when I was a kid. Down vest, had all my shooting stuff on it, all my patches. I wore that vest religiously because you would put a hoodie over top or a Levi jacket over top. If it was cold, it wasn't that cold, I'd take it off, put it over top of the jacket. The vest to me keeps you cool, your core, without tightening your arms up. We get too thick of a coat going on, you know, and we can't move good. And so I believe the vest is a very important part of our gear, should be. Carhartt has spoiled us, yeah. Yeah, the boys have vests and they were cold in Tennessee. That's not including rain gear or hunting coats. Right, Josh? I didn't even include the rain gear, man. Yeah, a couple button-down shirts with a vest and the coat over top of it. Layers, layers, layers. Warm wool shirts. I wear a cotton t-shirt, wool shirt over top of it, my vest, and then whatever. I can put this on. I can put a hoodie over top of this. I mean, I love my hoodies. I'm a pullover hoodie guy. I like the pullovers better than I do zippers. If you see my hoodies, they're usually pretty nasty. I did a lot of skinning with them. There's no zipper to mess with. I can pull them off. You're done. But I like the pullover hoodies. I really do. You'll see me wear a lot of them, actually, when it's cold out. My daughter got me a nice zippered hoodie from Carhartt. That's pretty nice. It's a heavy, heavy one. I actually had it on today. And I can put this, what's nice about this coat, and I ain't figured it out yet, but it's got a big pocket inside, and it folds up in the back. And what I wanted to talk about the coat for, and that's why I have it on, is because Morris Kohansky does a video, and he takes one of these down coats and shoves it in his coffee pot, his survival pot. You guys got to check that video out, because this thing don't seem like it's warm. This thing, I was riding a buggy around with it, and it's just windproof. And yeah, it's synthetic. They actually put the tag on it. I don't want to do that. And they show, you know, it's got synthetic stuff in it right here, you know, insulation. And she got it on sale, and it's hard to find me, you know, in 2X large. And it was on sale for like $17. And I said, man, get it, because it ain't down. Because it's so thin, it's so light. I can put stuff over it, or I can put this over that. So it gives me a lot. But I can wad this thing up and shove it in my side cargo pocket. That's how small it go. Well, granted, Steve, I mean, if there's my fur hat sitting right here, my coon hat, but if I've walked in Walmart one time with my gear on and about shut the store down. This coon hat has two faces in it. The Beaver Pelts, if we could wear fur, I think I just talked about how this fur works and why it works so good. Is you'll see a lot of guys turn the fur inside and put it inside. After I studied the Inuits, I read everything I could on the Inuit in Eskimos, how they stayed out there. The caribou hides that they put up, they do not tan. They just flesh them, and they break them in. I thought that was amazing. turn the fur inside out. Well, that's what I was getting to, Dean, is on the Inuit, on the caribou hair, because it's hollow like a deer hair. Now, bear with me on this, guys, because fur is different. Caribou, deer, stuff like that has a hollow hair. What they found out on the documentation of of these Inuits was when they were wearing the caribou, they didn't have nothing on underneath it, and through the day they would sweat. And when they come back in the igloo to cool down or to go to bed and do their stuff, they took their stuff off and they hung it outside to let it freeze. Well, the fur was wicking the moisture off their body to keep them from freezing, but it was absorbed through the tubes of the hair and it would freeze. So in the morning, they'd come out, you could see them brush all the frost off. Where us, our culture, our clothes we wore in, we had to take in and keep a big stove going to release the moisture off our clothing. It wouldn't evaporate as much as the hair wore. Now, some furs wore inside, some furs wore outside. But any of the elks and stuff like that were wore on the outside. It's a different, it's a different hair. So they wanted that moisture. Modern science found that out. That's how come some of the furs are way better than all the synthetic coats we're wearing today. So it's if society could wear me wearing a beaver coat or a buffalo hide, you walk around. Somebody would pour red paint on my hides. That would be a bad day for them. They would be a puddle of goo. But I won't get into that. I love 3-length white rabbit coat, polar bear coat. Jiminy, calls it my polar bear coat. Yeah, rabbit fur. My mom had fur. I growed up with fur. Ronnie, which way's best? And which way? If I had a buffalo hide, okay, let's say I had a buffalo hide, and I would probably put the buffalo hair up against me. Okay. If it's snowing really bad and everything like that, I'd probably turn it upside down because the hair would help waterproof it. But if it's deer, caribou, I believe elk. I'm not sure about elk. If it's hollow too, I would keep on the outside of me. I'd keep the fur away from me and skin in, just for the evaporation problem. If you ever noticed a deer bed, it's amazing if you ever skin out deer and how thin their skin is on their legs. Very thin, tough but thin. Very little hair on it. But when you get out in the snow and you find a deer bed and you push the deer off of it, immediately you're walking, looking for sign. There goes 10 deer. Dadgummit. Okay, I want you to study that bed. Not one of them beds are melted. None of them. There's no melting effect. That deer loses no heat to the ground. He tucks his feet in, his body goes over top of his feet, and he will not melt the snow. What kind of insulation value does that have? So that's why I said it's a hollow hair. I don't tan deer hides. You can, but they always originally slip because the hair is hollow. Where like coons and stuff, that's a fur. That's a different fur. So like on my fur hat, I was down at the chute in Southern Ohio. I built this hat probably 25 years ago. And my dad come down there with me. It was a muzzleloader chute. It was a Christian thing. It was a big church thing. What was unique about this chute was nobody there ever shot guns before. So they called a bunch of us, the guys who had shot a lot, and they said, okay, now you got to partner up with another guy. Never shot a gun before, let alone a flintlock or a cap gun. And so it's probably one of the worst situations you have. If my dad was on there, you could see it. It was snowing. The temperature dropped up to 40 degrees. It was so muddy. My moccasins were sliding everywhere. Be honest with you, I got so sick of falling and sliding, I went to my truck and got my big yellow lineman boots. So I'm walking around in dress with big yellow boots on for I get some traction on size hills. It would thaw out and freeze and start raining, and it was just terrible. And my hat, my coon hat that I was wearing, was soaking wet when I walked in the cabin. And they said, I bet you that thing weighs 25 pounds and your head's wet. And I took it and I shook it out the door. And I flipped it inside out and I was bone dry. And you could see the steam coming off my head. To give you an idea about wearing fur on the outside now, that's a coon fur on the outside. But that's what kind of miserable weather we was in. I don't know if you guys ever did any flintlock shooting in that kind of temperature. Flintlocks do not like that up and down fluctuation. So it was, but it was a great shoot. I actually won the blanket that my capote's made out of down there. So it was, and my dad won a blanket down there. Me and him took first and second place. We will not discuss who took first and second. But it was, because my old man's a cheater. But it was, it just shows you that that's the fur I would wear on the outside. The beaver I would wear, if you ever seen a beaver, you ever seen a wet beaver? Well, I better watch my terminology on this one. Beavers don't get wet. They're waterproof like a fish, you know. So to give you an idea. How about that egg? My brother knows the story of my dad winning because I just told you one. Because he wouldn't eat it. If you missed at this shoot, you had to eat a raw egg. And I seen guys throwing up down there trying to get this egg down. I ate a raw egg like it wasn't nothing. My old man pulled a scam. He wouldn't eat it, but he about made everybody puke, so everybody turned around, so he threw it out. It made me mad. Dying. Well, I gotta watch, man, it's the terminology. It kills me. But it was, so, you know, I'm still bouncing back and forth on the question about the fur. So the beaver I'd wear on the outside, all the deer I'd wear on the outside, some fur I'd wear on the inside. If you want to insulate the ground, deer hides would be tremendous for that. You put two deer hides on a pile of snow and lay on it, and I bet you that snow don't melt underneath you. And I'm telling you, the deer hides are worth having, and everybody throws them away. I cannot believe how many times it's thrown away. So, I mean, it's just, you know, it's understanding the hides and understanding the hair and understanding uses. I mean, I've got 2 coon hides. I didn't do really good skinning this year, guys. I'm kind of losing my skill. I got to get back into it. It's been a weird year, but I'm going to make some gloves out of coon hides, you know. Some heavy-duty overlaying gloves, not my gloves every day. I want them to be able to, if you watch the Inuits, they carry these big moss gloves and they're tied on. And now, anytime they do anything, they pull their hands out of the glove, do it, put your hands back in. They're always tied on them. And the way they tie them, they hang right there at the end of their arms. And that way they're out of the way when they got to do something, and then they put their hands back in. That's what I want to do for trapping. I think that would be a good pair of coon gloves or some beaver gloves or something like that. The big, long, up to your elbow, big, huge gloves. I want to make a large throw out of raccoon hide. Well, you better get a couple of them, Steve, but yeah, that would be nice. I mean, you can tan them out. I mean, fur prices right now are kind of in the toilet. And if you tell a guy, I give you $8 for a pelt, they're already dry. They're ready to go. They're skin out good. You just find a trapper over, you know, and say, hey, man, what do you want for your hides? And start tanning them. You know, because you can buy them cheap. Any roadkill yet? No. I ain't even seen one. Even my wife seen one the other day. We're just not having them. They're just not in my area. I'm doing a little modification this week to my the deer hoist I made. The problem is I can't hardly move it when it's off the truck, so I'm putting 2 wheels on it. That's removable. So that'll be done this week, hopefully today or tomorrow. I've just been really busy with the editing. I want to see that get done, and I got to get my M50 stove done because I want to go to Blackie's, but I want to bring 2 stoves with me, 2 of my small stoves. My wife's coming with me. Yay! I talked her into it. It's going to be warm down there. So I'm pretty excited. The wife wants to go. She will not go in the wintertime with me. So, and it'll be her first overnight hammock stuff. So I got to make sure to get Mama ready and make sure Mama's happy and comfortable. She wants her own shower stall, so we're looking at shower stalls, and you know, hey, my wife is an indoor person. She ain't never said nothing about me being out there hunting and fishing and dragging it home. As long as I skin it, gut it, throw it in the sink, it's hers from then on out. She does a fabulous job at cooking this stuff. Sometimes she don't do too good, sometimes she does. But, you know, right now I'm eating really good. I'm eating a ton of vegetables, and really no carbs again. I'm down about 6 or 7 pounds right now, which is pretty good. Ain't been doing it for a couple of days, maybe a week, maybe. She deserves a nice trip. You ain't kidding. She's busted her butt, and she's worked a ton of overtime with all this crap going on, and you know, being on the front line. And I said, man, you gotta take time off. It actually fell on her 4-day week off, but she wants to take a couple extra days just when we get back from there, just to relax. And I said, do what you want to do. She's worked her butt off, man. And you know, everybody knows my situation, and all that extra money helps out. But we're gonna load up and take her car down and have a good time. But my job is to keep Mama happy, because she don't know about the hammock. She's not sure about it, and it's hard to test when there's 8 inches of snow out here. So it'd be a good trip for her. I can't wait. I wish you was there, Pam. I know you can't go, but I wish you was there. It's just a good time. You know, let her relax. I told her, try to camp away from people. You want to take a nap? Go take a nap. Sleep in. My wife loves to sleep. That's her main hobby, is sleeping 12-hour days. She's been like that since I met her. She used to get so mad at me. I'd show up at her house at 6 o'clock. Come on, let's go riding. You come back at noon, close the door. Come back at noon, the day's over with. I was one of them kids that go to bed at 11 o'clock and be back up 5. That's just where I was. But yeah, she'd hated me, man, because I was always up early. But you know, kind of get it off track about that stuff. But yeah, I just got to get everything ready to do. Like I said, my editing's really, really hammering me on time, and it's frustrating for me. But I'm getting it. Like I said, thanks to my brother, thanks to Blackie Thomas, you know, trying to get me through this crap. I have to leave. See you next week. All right, Steve. So it's that's where we're at on the installation. Anybody else got any ideas? I mean, we were talking ground pads and stuff like that. I mean, everybody has a different area on that. Like down there at Pam, man, you got fire ants and stuff. Trying to hit the dirt at nighttime, you know, it would be bad. I could see where a hammock, because you got a lot of ground critters down there. Where you guys in your survival kit would carry a lightweight, just a standard hammock. Even though you might get a little chilly, at least you ain't crawling around in the critters. This time of year, we got no critters on the ground, so it's pretty cool. But where else were we? I think that's what I think that was the discussion. Was not just because I think I'm going to harp over this because cold weather, because we're in cold weather right now. This in Ohio, this is our tough part of the year. January, February, March usually gets our crappiest part of the year, the coldest temperatures, and so it's everything we do is twice as hard. You know, we got to mow grass in the summer, but we got to plow snow in the winter. Letting your cars warm up, cleaning the glass off and stuff takes us twice as long just to go to the grocery store. Go out and fire the truck. And my truck sits outside because it won't fit in the barn, but her car sits inside, so that's nice. You don't have to clean it off in the morning, but it's just more work. Anything we do, and up there at Jonathan, I'm sure he plugs in trucks when you're sitting 25 below zero. Everything's got to be plugged in. It's just, it's just the way it is. We really don't think nothing about it, but it just it's harder on your vehicles, it's harder on your house, it's harder on everything. So that's why, I talk about installation. I mean, I used to see, you seen it a lot years ago that the foundations around the houses were covered with bales of straw. They would line their house with bales of straw in the wintertime. because the high winds just pounded on that concrete, you know. So it was, you know, it's just things to think about, especially like in the situation I'm in. It's twice as long. I gotta be twice as safe. You know, walk across the driveway, get the barn door open, which, you know, anytime I can slip. I get on. I have a little bit of tractor, and you know, I always put the blade on it at the end of season while it's still warm. My blade goes on there. You know, last time I think I'm going to cut, I put my blade on. You know, prepping all my stuff, making sure my battery charger's next to it, because that tractor might sit a month. And man, when it gets this cold out, it don't like to start. So I put the charger on it, get it fired up. And I went and plowed snow. I was gone for probably 4 hours the other day plowing snow. Beat me up pretty bad. I like to do it. You know, my mother-in-law, she's by herself, and so I'll do her driveway, which is a big circle driveway. I've got a pretty big driveway than his neighbor. So I was about 4 hours out while plowing. But it's just more gas, more work and stuff. Not complaining about it because I like plowing snow. I really did. I just can't do it. My back can't handle the bouncing and the rough riding like it used to. But hopefully down the road, I think I'll probably end up putting a blade on my side-by-side. That'll make it a lot more comfortable, better suspension and stuff. But man, their blades are expensive, so it is what it is. I can usually build me one. I'm good at that. That was the other thing I was going to bring up, is oil in your guns this time of year. I've seen this happen several times. We go out hunting. It's been November, you know, gun season, whatever. You know, it's still squirrel season here. They take the guns in, get them cleaned up. They oil them. They oil them too heavy. They get oil around the firing pins. You take them outside. You go hunt, you know, 2 or 3 hours, and you go pull the trigger, and it's called hydraulicing your firing pin. That means the viscosity of the oil gets so tough that it will not have enough power to ignite the bullet for the ignition. It's not a hard enough hit. It actually happened to me down at James Bender's house during that video you guys watched. That was James Bender's grandpa's gun that he oiled to put up. And he said, I want to shoot my first beaver with this gun. Well, he heavily oiled it for storage, brought it out. It got super cold, you know, from being inside the house to cold. That gun would not fire. It took him 7 or 8 times to get that gun to fire because there was too much oil around the firing pin. So I wanted to pass on that information about too much oil on your guns, guys. Too much oil is bad for the wood too, but it's I know, Pam, you're down there. You're probably not going to have a problem up here, but when I studied the Mosby Nagant rifles, why they have monster firing pins and stuff, is because these guys seen 60 below, and they were told about, you know, they wanted to oil their guns, keep them from rusting, keep them function. If they got wet, they would freeze the bolts shut. So you want to keep oil on them, keep that water from building up. But they didn't oil the firing pins up. That way they would fire at 60 below. The gun was designed to fire at 60 below zero. That's why the firing pin's massive in that thing. So just another point I want to give across, guys. You know, we put our guns up, and you know, this time of year, yeah, you want to go squirrel hunting, and I've already cleaned my 22. It could actually freeze up on it. My buddy missed an elk out in Colorado with a handgun, Desert Eagle, a 44 mag Desert Eagle. He was hunting elk out there with it. Got out there and went click, because he's always been heavy-handed on oil and stuff. And I told him, I mean, I've seen oil run out of his guns. I understand the rust, but you can over-oil your guns. So this time of year, you know, the firearms need to be, you got to watch them. H&R single shots. I've seen guys pour oil down the receivers on them. It's called hydraulic in a pin. It will not fire. So food for thought when we hit this kind of temperatures. I wanted to bring that up today too. Just a little bit of knowledge. If you knew it, you knew it. If you didn't, well, maybe it'll help you out about using too much oil on your, you know, around your mechanism on your guns. Guys, I said before, if you look at my guns, the guns I actually use every day, I've got a shotgun sitting right there. They're heavily waxed. It sounds crazy, but like turtle wax, paste wax, I wax my gun. You can see them bead water. The oil will evaporate, it will go away, but the wax stays on there until it gets so hot, you know. So just something to think about. I'm talking the guns I use. I'm not talking the real pretty guns that I put up and you don't want to store them. I'm talking about beater guns because they're going to see canoe, they're going to see water, they're going to see snow, they're going to see the back of the truck. Now they're laying in the back of the side-by-side. Excuse me, but you understand my point. So wax them, you know. Yeah, I actually ruined one shotgun, Pam. I had to redo the whole shotgun because I put it in one of them cases. It was killer humidity. We shot. I threw it in the case, left it in there for a week, and the case was stuck to the gun. It's 1100 Remington. Made me sick to my stomach because it just ruined the finish on it. It's because it drew so much and it instantly she started rusting. So I'm really strict. I run 1187 for rabbit hunting. That gun is waxed. It's a pretty nice gun. My wife bought it for me for Christmas. It's 1187 12 gauge. I wanted that because of the way I rabbit hunt, because I like shooting 2 3/4 shells with 3-inch magnums on backing it up. But I use turtle wax on it, guys. You know, I heat the gun, warm the gun up, wax it like the hood of your car, let it dry a little bit and buff it off. You would be surprised how it keeps the rust off your gun. So just one of my tips, because like I said, here in Ohio, trying to keep guns from rusting inside, unless you got a big monster safe with a killer dehumidifier. These guns in Ohio, because of extreme temperatures, and I have an air conditioner, sits right here, and that's the air conditioner's dehumidifier, and I still get rust, especially on my muzzle loaders, and that makes me sick. And I'm really good at taking care of them. Car wax, yeah, Ronnie, I use turtle wax on it. You ever heard of the new finish? I like that new finish, works good on them. You know, the wax can come back off with a wax and degreaser. You can go to an automotive store and buy a wax remover. Won't hurt the gun, it just takes the wax off. So if you ever want to take it off and, you know, just oil it and go back. I'm talking, I put guns up in storage with wax. I put guns up, my beater guns. Stuff's gonna get beat around is wax because they see it. You know, they see action. Does the wax melt? I've never noticed, even on my 1187's dove hunting, that's usually warm, that, you know, the barrel got so hot that I could say, oh man, it's sticky, I can feel the wax. I've never felt that. I'm not trying to put it on that heavy. I'm just putting a thin coat, you know, wax on, wax off. That's what I'm doing. So, there you go. Turtle wax on everything, Jonathan. Not guns, knives, everything. The knives I'd be eating with, probably wouldn't want to put turtle wax on, you know, if I'm doing a lot of food prep with it. Other than that, put it on there, buff it off. People don't even know it's on there, and it keeps, because water cannot penetrate wax. And even like WD-40 evaporates. I know you guys sent me some other oil and stuff, and I read about them. You know, they're supposed to be, you know, the new gun oils that, you know, keep it lubricated without no rust and stuff like that. But I'm old school, guys. I oil the moving parts and I wax the other parts. I mean, we don't really oil the hood of our car. You know, it's metal. It has a finish on it, but we don't oil the hood of our car. And in fact, if you did, how long would it last with the rain and the, you know, grime and driving down the road at 70 miles an hour, where the wax will hold up? So that's kind of where old timers showed me that, and I just been doing it for years. I just want to, you know, talk about your gun maintenance on this kind of weather. Your guns, I missed a monster buck one time with my muzzleloader. It was crap weather out. It was probably 10 degrees outside. I take my cap gun because flintlocks get really crazy when the temperature's up and down. But I took the gun in the house, set it next to the stove, 80 degrees, 90 degrees next to that stove. Took it back outside, never unloaded the gun. Condensation got around the powder. Worst mistake. After that mistake, and this was a huge buck, when I dropped the hammer on him, it went pat. I got my thing, he stood there the whole time, loaded another cap, pat. I was so mad, he stood there the whole time. Hit the third cap, the deer smelled, I know he smelled that cap. I could see him light up, turn and gone. And I said, what did I do wrong? So what I ended up doing is now if I load a muzzleloader and I do not fire that muzzleloader, and even if I do fire that muzzleloader, it stays in the garage of the barn or my truck. I will not bring that in the house and go back out. Now my muzzleloader's in the house now, but they're in here because of that. If I'm hunting, that thing stays outside because of that reason. Yeah, Pam, WD-40 is a water displacement. If you dropped your gun in the lake, you know, and it was there, you know, just soaking wet, and you dug it back out, would I use WD-40? At that time, I would use WD-40 to spray the internals to force the water. It's a water displacement. Don't think it's going to protect your guns for a lubricant, okay? Dustin, hey Dustin. There you go, wax the inside of the magazine too. Keeps the rust down, doesn't draw debris like oil. Yep, wax does not get sticky like oil. Cuts down on manufacture. Well, is wax a lubricant, guys? Yes, it is. So, it's these pointers that I try to get across. It kind of seems crazy because everybody's got this newfangled great oil on these guns. And here in Ohio, I've used a lot of new oils and still have rust problems. When I go to the wax, I don't have rust problems. And really, if the wax is bothering you that bad, then, like I said, you get a wax remover. You can buy it for, they use it for cars because you can't paint, you know, with any wax or greasy fingerprints. It's a mild detergent. You just take it right off. You don't even know you're taking the wax off. You know, if you want to refinish the gun, in fact, if you're refinishing the gun, you should use that anyway because of grease and all kinds of oils and stuff. I've rebuilt a lot of H&R single shots. That's my favorite thing to do when I had time was restore them. I find them at the pawn shop very cheap. Used to be really cheap, 20 bucks. Stocks are broke, forearms missing. I used to love to build them guns. I suggest if you want to play with guns, that's a good way to start. Now you're going to pay $125, $150 for that broken stock gun. But I still, I can't believe the stocks that I pulled off on a 1945, 1950 H&R stock. It's cracked, and I'm going to tell you why it cracked, guys. You ain't going to believe. Why do you think that stock cracked? Anybody got an idea why the stock cracked on them old guns? I'll let you guys figure that now. Most old shotguns have cracked stocks, and everybody says it's because of recoil, and that's not the answer. And so it's, if you guys have any ideas, why do you think the stocks are cracked on them old shotguns? Ronnie should dry it out. Steve should dry it out. Would dry it out. Oh, Pam. Pam, you're cheating because she's a gun owner. She nailed it. It's the oil in the stocks. They don't dry out. It's too much oil in there. It swells up in there and puts too much pressure on the stocks. The first thing I do when I remove a stock is I use naphtha, white gas, real high grade kerosene, and I got a tube out there, PVC tube. I put the whole stock in, and it just evaporates the oil, and you cannot believe how dirty that is when I pull that stock out. That's 50, 60, 70 years old stock. Vern answered, I have a ringer. Oh, Vern's cheating. He can't say that, man. I don't want Vern. Vern's, he's way sharper than I'll ever be on guns, man. But that's how come Pam got the answer. But it was, yeah, if you guys ever pull stock off, look in the wood and it's oil. Oil in your steel's one thing. Oil in your wood is a no-no. Believe it or not. And guess where it oils out? Everybody oils that receiver good, and it gets between the receiver and the wood. It's very hard on the wood. So, some people have family game night. We have you. Thanks a lot, man. Trivial question with Dan Lutz. Let's get it on. I got a good one for you. I'll talk about that later. But that's why you guys got to watch too much oil on your guns. The wax will get in between the receiver and the wood, and guess what it does? It seals that gap. Okay, so that's why you see I use furniture polish, Pledge, which is harder to get. when I was a kid, it was always, do you have wax built up on your furniture? You need this. I want the wax. Pledge is a spray wax. I could spray it. I don't know if I'd use it on my hunting guns because they got lemon scent and all this other crap. But it's a spray wax that I use on my stocks. It's a furniture polish. You know, Steve, too much oil on your leathers is also bad. You're right, Steve. Oil's the same way. It'll soak it up and it'll rot the leather on it. So it's kind of funny that we think, and I was the same way, guys, growing up, man. I'd oil the stocks, want to keep everything, all the water out of my guns. And I was actually hurting my guns. But like I said, the number one thing I do when I take the wood off is put it on denatured alcohol, mineral spirits. I like white gas. And it just, you cannot believe how much oil comes out of gun stocks. And if you try to glue that gun stock with all that oil in there, it will not hold, it'll fail again. So yeah, I do use modern epoxies and I use modern glues to do this, but you can hide all that. I did one as a gift for a guy, and he could not tell where the stock was cracked bad. Sometimes you can always still see a hairline, but I did such a good job on that. He couldn't see where it was chipped and cracked. It was his dad's gun, so I did it for free. I just enjoyed doing it. This has been several years ago. But I couldn't believe the oil that was coming out of that stock by the grip. I mean, I let it in there for a week, and I kept changing the denatured alcohol on that one. Because somebody must just pour the oil thinking, yeah, I'm going to save this gun, But, yep, Pam and Vern got the Dan Lutz trivia question for tonight. That's cheating because Vern's good. But, yeah, I mean, we washed the oil on our leather. We all had leather gun slings. What I'm getting at, be easy-handed on the oil. Lubricate the parts that move, wax everything else. So there you go. There's my tip for today, guys. My shotguns and my trapping rifles are in bad shape. They get beat up. They do get rusty sometimes. I clean them back up, wax them again. And that's usually because they've rubbed through limbs or bounced around in the truck. My guns are tools. They're part of a tool for the job. I respect them. I try to take care of them much. I don't like dropping them. I don't like tearing them up, but it's going to happen. And it's just, you keep barrels clean and stuff like that. My little Chiapa's hanging up there, 22. It's been waxed. You can see the wax in the grooves. And all the writing is waxed. Some guy said, did you highlight all that? And I said, no, I just put the wax on there and it dried hard. So it looks like I went in there and painted it. So it was, but that gun, because that gun sees weather conditions. It sat out in my truck in freezing temperatures, and it was out in the buggy the other day with me. It was laying in the bed on the buggy. It was tucked in there. It's not just flopping around getting beat up. You know what I'm saying? I try to take care of it. It's got a rubber pad in there. But it's just blood. Blood is the number one thing. You get on your gun, you got oil on your gun, you put blood on it, you're going to find out how fast your gun's going to rot. How you're going to have, I got my 1187, got a piece of rabbit blood on it. And we were busy, killed a bunch of rabbits with skin all day long. I wiped my gun down, but I missed a piece of blood. I had a daggone spot of rust on it. And it made me sick. But blood is probably one of the most caustic thing you can put on a gun. It's got salt in it, I guess. I don't know. Yeah, Steve, what do you recommend to put on your leather, dude, for this time of year, for high weather conditions? There's your question for Stephen Lutz. If you guys don't know, my brother has a side company he calls Lutz's Leathercraft. He don't like talking about it, but he makes belts and stuff like that. He just plays with it. He works full time. But he knows a lot about leather. He's been doing it a long time, and just piddles with it. He don't try to make a living off of it. He just does it. He likes to do it. But it's, what do you recommend, Steve? What kind of oil do you recommend, or what kind of conditioning stuff to protect our leather during this time? Because he knows he's northeast Ohio from me. Mink wax, there you go, there's one. I've heard of that. I've heard of neat's foot oil is another one. That's actually does come out of the hooves of animals, is neat's foot oil. In fact, in the survival situation, in the deer's hoofs, you can find that oil, that fatty tissue. People don't understand how to take the hooves off deer. Is if you boil water, take the hoof of the deer and just put it in there for about 30 seconds, pull it back out, that hoof will come right off. You'll be surprised how much oil's in that foot. Good thing to know. That's kind of crazy. Some of the stupid stuff I think about. I don't know where my brother went. He must have went to sleep. But yeah, it was just, we spent a lot of money on our stuff, guys. A lot of money on guns, a lot of money on slings, a lot of money on leather. I hear a lot of, high dollar guns, but we don't talk about the maintenance involved in it. There's Steven. I recently found a company that makes a conditioner that restores grape called Black Rock. I'll drop a link. Red Wing oil, 10 years. But my brother was talking about that. He just restored a purse my other mom had. And he didn't really restore it. He brought it back to life. It was dry. It was built in the 70s, I think. We were talking back and forth about that. There's the link for that leather conditioner, Steven said. So you guys might want to check that out, on your leather goods and, your boots and stuff like that. Believe it or not, when I worked as a mechanic, I used daggone transmission fluid on my boots. It softened the leather so bad, it was like walking around tennis shoes, but totally waterproof. Doesn't darken the leather at all. Well, that's a good thing, because I know if you put neat's foot oil on some leather, it will darken it up like crazy. That's good to know. Built in the 50s, and it came out great. Great. So there you go, guys. I mean, there's another good tip right there. My brother, he's restored some old leather stuff, brought it back because, leather's like anything else. It's going to dry out. It's going to crack. It's going to get bad on you. But we talk about, we spend a lot of money on our gear, but we got to maintain this gear. And I think our old timers maintain their gear more than we did. I believe because like axes, we take axes for granted today. We got chainsaws today, so they get thrown in the barn, not taken care of. They were their pride and joy. They use that tool every day. Their guns, when the hillbillies I was raised around and hung around, they had one gun for a family. So that was a prized possession. Randall told him, well, animal lard on your leather for treatment. That would work if you was out in a survival situation. Coon fat can be rendered down for that. It's all oil. It would help you if you're in long-term survival. But if you go back to look at some of these guys, they condition their gear all the time. They were constant maintenance. They might have a couple people, or a pistol and a rifle. But remember, they didn't have the opportunity like we do to have multiple guns, several guns. The money just wasn't there. And so their prized possession, they took care of it. They didn't beat it up. And I think they took better care of their stuff back in. The value of money was different than it is today. We've turned into a throwaway society today. So I think that's why you see, where I go to flea market, I see a lot of beat up guns. They just don't care. There's Axe Man. Hey, good to see you too, man. But that's where I think society's going at. We're a throwaway society. We don't take care of our stuff. I mean, I've got my stuff, a lot of my stuff's 40 and 50 years old that I got handed down to me, but I take care of You know, I run rifles that are 50, 70 years old. I enjoy that. Some of my shotguns are 70 years old, you know, and they're, you know, I readjusted them and cleaned them up and restored them and love shooting them, man. The Beaver Tail H&R shotgun's probably dear to my heart. I give my nephew Cole a 20 gauge that I run forever. That's the gun I started with, was a 20 gauge Beaver Tail, probably 1945, 47, somewhere around there. H&R. The 20 gauges you could find a lot cheaper than the 12s. I was a little kid, so they hit a little less, and I believe the ballistics are better, especially in a slug. Remember, we were shooting slugs and smooth bores back then. We didn't have full choke barrels and stuff like that. So I think that's why, you know, they're just dear to my heart. They're a single shot, they're fun to shoot. Muzzle loaders are single shots, they're fun to shoot. When I shot with my dad, my brothers, it was funny because we go to the range with the big stuff and you could burn 1,500 rounds pretty easy. You go to the range with muzzle loaders and you shoot all day and you might shot 25, 30, 50 rounds. So, and it's more about accuracy because we're trying to, it's easy to spray a whole bunch of 30 rounds at something and try to hit it, or a shotgun with a spray pattern, it's easy to hit. Taking a daggone candle out 50 yards and trying to blow it out with a daggone muzzleloader is tough. So you got to make the shot count. So I think I miss that day with me and my dad and my uncle and my brother and shoot muzzleloaders all day. And we would take them really far out. That was what was amazing. People don't understand how far they can go. So it's just something different, but you got to take care of them. Got to take care of them. Yeah, I think it's a good little topic, man. We don't talk a lot about maintenance and how other people use, what different types of oil. And I mean, like Pam, she's down there, you know, down south, man. I mean, in Florida. They got salt air to mess with, you know, salt water and stuff like that. So her situation's going, what works down there might not work up here, and vice versa on that. That's why I love talking to you guys. Every one of you guys seems like you're from a different part of the country. When I talk to Blackie, you know, his humidity levels, I can imagine trying to take care of guns if you don't have air conditioning in your house and it's 100% humidity. It's just, how do you take care of the muzzleloaders? And he's a big black powder guy. I mean, he's got, if you guys ever want to watch something, watch Blackie Thomas Black Powder series. There's a lot of guys that watch him, and I mean a lot of these big guys know him and they watch his channel because of the stuff he comes up with. In fact, I was gifted a Walker Dragoon made by the Colt manufacturer as a replica, of course. Can't own a real one. And I don't have it right now. It's down in Alabama. Blackie is tuning it up, and it's going to be dead right when it comes back. That's Blackie. He knows his stuff about making sure these things will fire all the time. In fact, we were talking about trying to do a hog hunt down in Alabama. They're allowed to use black powder pistols for hog hunting. Man, would that be great? Take a hog with 44 cap and ball. I think that'd be a ball. We're not allowed to hunt with them in Ohio. Goldenrod or Bear light bulb in the safe. There you go. What do you mean by goldenrod, Pam? I can see the light bulb. Light bulb will carry humidity. Believe it or not, I use a light bulb to rust barrels. That's going to sound really funny, but some of the older shotguns I do not have bluing on them. They have browning on them. And this is a strange story to get into. I don't know why we're going to get into it, but I've got a shotgun laying right here. Just let me get up and I'll show it to you real quick. This is one of the shotguns. I'll wait till summer before I start working on it. Sorry about me moving around, guys, but I had to get up. You guys see the tip of that? You see what that is, don't you? That's a ramrod. Brand name for a heat rod. You might send me a link to that, Pam. That might help me. Yeah, Florida, PA, whole different story. Brand new, heat rod, dehumidifier. No repeat, no desiccant, because I've got a moisture thing right here. And this stays my gun safe. It's reusable, that's a new one, but they fill it full of water. And I keep them in there. And so it's, but yeah, I might have to look at the heat lamps. Like you said, that goldenrod, I'll have to look at that. Steve will get me a link for it. But what I want to talk to you about, if you see this finish on this shotgun, this was not blue. Now, knocking my wires everywhere. What I want to talk about is somebody tried to repair this shotgun with solder. It's really messed up. And I got this gifted to me at Central Hall. And you can see, what kind of barrel is that? Pam would know. Guys, that's called a Damascus Barrel. Now this is a black powder shotgun, and what'll happen is this gun is not good for firing anymore. I bet you next time I see that draws moisture. I bet next time I see damper it. I never heard of damper it either. Huh? Learning something new every day. We'll get the link set. But you guys can see this if I don't hit my ceiling. This is a hammered cap gun. One cap's bad, one hammer's missing. The tag on it, I looked it up. It's a Holtz and Shots, 1840 to 1860. And I want to show you guys what we were talking about. It's going to be hard to see. You can see all that oil. These finishes on these guns were, see the crack here? These guns were finished with linseed oil and several hundred coats, but you can see the oil just impregnated in the stock. This stock will sit for 2 weeks in denatured alcohol to get the oil out of this gun. This is actually, Pam, it's hard to tell. I'm going to call it a wire twist barrel. I know it looks Damascus, but I think it's in the time period. If it's Damascus, I'm still a little worried about firing, even though it's black powder. But I don't think it's wire twist. It could be, but I don't feel it. I usually find wire twist. While wire twist barrels do not fire at all. You gotta watch hitting this thing. This thing is long. But yeah, this is between 1840 and 1860 when this shotgun was built. And it's just, I'll put it as a wall hanger. I don't know if I'll find another hammer. I'll probably have to build it. But you can see this crappy solder job that was put on it. It's off face. See what that means, off face? I can fix all that. The stock's loose on it. I can fix all the cracks. It'll be a pretty gun once I clean it, put it back. I do not take the patinas off stuff. I leave it on there. You know, it's got double bolster. Be a heck of a shotgun, man. So, maybe different for other states. Do not use damper it in Florida. Yeah, so there you go. I mean, this is just examples I have on these shotguns. You know, it's actually tied together because it's, if you see, man, it's so off face and the stock is cracked where the actual stock's moved on this gun. Is it fixable? Yes. Could I use this and make it fire? Man, if I was up in the cabin by myself and I had enough tools to do the job right, I'll make this gun fire again. I just have to understand I wouldn't be running too high pressures, but it'd be a good bird gun. It's still a double barrel, you know. I've only got one hammer. I can make one hammer work. I've got a bad nip on it. But I want to restore this gun. But I won't do it in the wintertime. It takes too much to heat up the shop. I'll do it in the summertime. If you guys want to see a little bit of videos back and forth, you know, we can do that. Yeah, Pam, I love these old guns. I find them at garage sales. I get a lot gifted to me because they're useless, you know, and the gun will probably never be worth a fortune, you know. So if you're going to restore it, a lot of guys tell you, you know, collectors, don't restore it, don't do nothing. well, this gun's unfireable, and at least if I make it look and put it all back to original shape, at least it'll make it a real nice, pretty wall hanger. See if I can sit here without knocking anything. It's so long it won't fit in the gun safe or the gun cabinet. That's how long this gun is. That's another discussion, guys, is why them little guys carry such long guns. So I would love to get that thing firing. If I clean up the barrels and look at it and see what I like to see, I would love to get it firing again. Jeffrey Courtney, hey man, how you doing, brother? But yeah, I mean, it's just me talking about guns and the maintenance and stuff like that, and we do different stuff. I would like to look at that goldenrod for my gun cabinet where I can plug it in and keep this daggone moisture. It's the muzzlers that really draw the moisture. Man, I've waxed them. I've basically poured everything off. Compensation. What do you mean, Steve? It's the inside of the barrels. You got to season a black powder gun like you do a frying pan. And when I got hurt, I quit doing everything, and my gun sat for about 4 years. And I can't believe how bad they rusted in 4 years. Long barrel generally more accurate piece. Huh, Dean? Have someone do an ND test on the barrel. What do you mean, Jonathan? Spell that out for me. What's the width of the cabinet? About 4 feet. Short guy, long gun. How long? I don't know what the ND test is, Jonathan. The barrel lengths is because there's a couple reasons why, and I've talked about this before on muzzleloaders, why they had short stocks. Non-destructive test. Okay, man, I should have known that. Done that a ton on bridges. It's got to do with balance, guys. Black powder doesn't have, but if you notice the relationship of this stock, and this is actually a longer stock. Most muzzleloaders are shorter than this, but if you look, this gun is every bit of four foot tall, and the average height was about 5'8", 5'7". So that was a huge double barrel. It's heavy, but they used it for a cantilever. And now what I mean is, anytime you shoulder a gun, your hand's not way up here; it's back here. And they use it for a counterlever. It makes it more accurate when you put nose weight on a gun. And they knew that. The thing is about black powder, it doesn't build up pressures as fast as modern day powder. And so can you get a barrel too long on a gun? Yeah, it can actually hurt it because of it doesn't build up enough gas to help it exit the barrel. When you see flame coming out the end of the barrel, that's unburnt powder. That means you're putting too much powder in for the length of the barrel. If you really want to jack it up, you need to add length to the barrel. So, yeah, it's really long, man. Magnetic particle test. I don't know. I don't know about that. I could have it. I could send the barrels out because I won't have to take solder all back off of it and clean it. You guys, if you ever heard of ringing a barrel, I will hang that by a piece of wire in the garage, take a piece of steel and hit it. And if that thing donks, it'll go donk. That barrel's pretty bad. If it rings, we're in shape. It'll ring like a bell. And that'll tell me how safe the barrels are on this thing. I'll take them and I'll clean them really good and look and do an inside inspection to see if they're wire twist. I don't think they are. I think it's Damascus, but I don't think it's wire twist. Which when they're both made, the problem with wire twist is really bad, but Damascus can help too, is they rot from the inside. Being this is a black powder gun, it's very caustic. And you won't see the pitting in the spirals, and the corrosion in the gun can come apart when you fire it because it's actually weak from the inside. There'd be like, this groove would be ate all the way around and you can't see it from the outside. And the barrel could come off when you fire it. So, even if I can't do it, it's still going to be a fun restoration project. But like I said, I got to do it in the summertime. But yeah, it gives you something to you know, if you find these old guns like this and they're pretty bad off, they're fun to restore, you know, take your time to do stuff. Robert, hey man, how you doing, man? I'm doing good. Stone grinding wheels, it's called sounding the stone. Exactly, you get a stone wheel spinning too fast, it'll come apart if it's cracked. So we call it ringing the firearm. I can do AR-15s, I can do AKs. A lot of this, the Glocks, a lot of stuff's drop-in stuff. It kind of basically took the gunsmith out of a lot of these modern guns. I like the old stuff because I'm not a carpenter, never claimed to be a carpenter. But guns, I love to do it. One of my bucket lists, I've really been thinking hard, is putting together a flintlock muzzleloader. I've always bought mine. I've traded for them. I've never built my own muzzleloader. Out of all the clothes I built muzzleloader, I've never built. There's a couple really good guys on YouTube that's building guns. Mike Bellevue he writes, he's the actual writer for, I think it was Gun Digest magazine, Black Powder magazine. He writes a lot. He's got a pretty nice channel out. He's does muzzleloader rebuilds. Honestly, and I know Mike ain't watching, but his quality is not nowhere near as good as some of these guns built. But I'm not trying to dog the guy here. He just started building muzzleloaders. So it's nice to see somebody that's graduating along the process. You know, I've seen some of his mistakes he made, which is good to watch because I'll probably make the same mistakes. And I'll have somebody ahead of me teaching me. But yeah, that'll be when I get some extra money, is to buy me the right flintlock kit that I want. It's got to be the right caliber, you know, 50 caliber, 36, 166 twist, big long gun. I want a big long gun that I can lean on, use it like a cane. Still hobbling around, good man. Keep going, Robert. You got to push on, brother. Build on mine, get ready to know guns. That way, especially revolvers, and getting them timed. Yeah, I used to time revolvers when I raced handguns. There's a lot of stuff going on with a wheel gun. I still go back to my old guns, the old muzzleloaders and stuff like that. I really like decking them out and doing stuff like that. But that'll be a build. If you guys want to see a video on that, with me using a camera now instead of my phone, it's going to be a lot better. Because I can hold the camera, I can film hours of video, then cut it up. So, like I said, I did that today. I shot a bunch of test videos today. And it was kind of funny, guys. I'll tell you what I did. I set the camera in the driveway. If you guys watch plenty of these bushcrafters, they're always walking into the woods with their pack, and then you see them walking by the camera. So I said, okay, let me set my camera up so I can play with the editing on this. And I set my camera in the driveway, and I went and got the trash can, and I pulled the trash can up to the camera, and I said, well, I ain't walking the trap line, I'm walking the trash line. I said, I got nothing, it's empty. They must have come through last night and got everything. And then I filmed myself walking the toter to the garage and then back. So I know it sounds funny, guys, but it's kind of, I was telling my wife, it's pretty funny to watch me, you know, here I'm on a trash line. And, but I got to practice on that editing on that. So that's what I was doing today. It's kind of funny. You can use a tripod now. Yeah, I can use my tripod. You guys are on a tripod now. I'm not the best editing out there. 8:53, thanks, Jonathan. I wasn't paying attention. We're doing good tonight. Guys, did you like this? It was a good discussion about, you know, thermal mass and keeping us insulated. I know we kind of got off on the gun kick again, but I think I'm just trying to keep the story related to what I'm going through up here in Ohio. I mean, Jonathan's even colder than us. My brother's up northeast Ohio. You know, I hope there's some good pointers out there. You guys brought a lot to the table tonight. You know, you know, to recap on the installation, you know, I think because we're all from a different area, we all bring something to the table. That's what I'm trying to do here, you know. Robert Gord, love it. Always love muzzleloaders. I do too. Thanks, Grant. Lots of great information. Well, guys, you know, you shared. I'm willing to share. You guys share back, you know, because like I said, you're all from different parts of the country. What works down Florida don't work in Pennsylvania. What don't, you know, they got we had Kansas, Florida, Pennsylvania, Missouri, or Minnesota. If I get that right, I don't know, Ohio. So I love this. I love to see what different people use because it's all being put in my toolbox. And when I can go to an event and I say, hey man, they use this, I'm gonna do that. North Carolina, there you go. It's just funny where we're all from, but yet we're all united on one thing. And you know, my temperatures are deadly up here. The temperature at Jonathan Frisbee's house up there will kill you in a minute. The temperature down there at Pam's house, you're wearing shorts on laying on the beach. What are you gonna do, get sunburnt? I'm gonna give Pam a hard time for that one. The Dan Lutz School of Knowledge, no sir, no sir, don't count on me, man. I'm learning every day. Don't ever count on me. I just, you know, I get a lot of that, but it's just because I listen. Your charred punk wood is awesome. I've been playing with it since we met at that Fueling the Fire event. Well, I mean, I'm glad I like it. I'll tell you what, I talked to Blackie today about that punk wood. I see a lot of different things. I don't like talking about other channels, but what I learned is I don't ever sound better than they are. Everybody's learned different. But I'll do a video when I get this camera and I'm getting a setting situation. I'll show you how I do my fire lay and my punk wood. And punk wood with no charred box, how they did it traditionally 200, 300, 400 years ago. I'll go into that in a little bit of detail and explain that. Robert, when I was down there, I got a lot of feedback showing on that Fuel the Fire, you know, on that punk wood. And it was funny because I'm carrying punk wood with me. I got a different coat on, I have punk wood in my pocket. So I want to kind of, char cloth to me is no good. You should be able to build every fire and never ever use char cloth. And I know I'm going to get some flack about that, but take your char cloth and take your tin and throw it away because it's not needed in the survival. Yeah, and I said it. So go ahead and beat me up for it, but that's just the way it is. Our ancestors didn't use it. If they had it, they were in town, and it was the crappiest of the crappiest material they had. Material was too expensive to be cutting up. The char cloth we make today is premium stuff because science has figured out how to do it. The char cloth 200 years ago was garbage, and it actually worked, but it wasn't. The material, you gotta understand how expensive material was back then. Still working with some of your big punk wood, brother. Good, Robert. I mean, go find you some. I mean, I've got, I hate to admit it, man. I got a small trailer in my barn that's full of punk wood, guys. It's sickening how much I got. When you start using punk wood, you start collecting, and then you let it dry in the barn, and man, I can just, I don't know, man. It lasts long. Char cloth won't last and burn as long as that. Uncharred punk wood and a magnifying glass is so fast to get a fire. Why do you want to use char cloth? I don't mean to rant on this, and I know I'm running out of time, but maybe that's a good discussion for next week. I'll bring out my gear, and I'll show you guys the difference. For next week, we'll talk more about punk wood. Robert, I usually don't show a lot of people that because I don't want to get in an argument with people. Well, that's not right. That's not how you do it. My studies, going back when I was in the buckskin, I read, found, and went to museums to look at how they started fires and stuff. Jeremiah Johnson, the movie, is not correct, but it's very close to correct, the way they did it. They never took, this is going to sound funny, they never took their material that's on fire and put it in the bird's nest. Now, ain't that crazy? And yet, everybody out there puts it in bird's nest and blows in the fire. That's, now, bear with me on this statement. I'm running out of time. We are talking traditional methods, okay? I'm not saying that doesn't have a place. I'm talking traditionally, what they did 200, 300 years ago. They always brought the broom, it's called the broom, to their face, to the spark. They didn't put it inside, they put it over top. there's a big lesson, and I talked to Black today. There's going to be a good video to explaining how they actually did it. And once you guys start practicing this, you'd understand how much more efficient it is than putting the ember in the bird's nest and blowing it. Does that make sense, you guys? Good. I hope it teased you and got your brain thinking. And you'll have to wait for the video. Guys, it's 9 o'clock. I really appreciate everything you guys do to me. I hit 1,100 subs. I still need to get a giveaway going on. But I got to get this editing down and get this stuff up. I shot a couple videos for One Win. One went through the computer. Took me all day to get it out. The other one was a quick one on my phone, what I'm used to, because remember, I forgot to mention One Win's having a sale this week, Valentine's Day special. If you guys, on selected parts of their season, if you guys want anything, excuse me, from One Win right now, you need to jump on. 15% is a lot of money, off. We're all getting tired of the money. So, yeah, Jonathan, I'll show you down there. I'm actually going to bring me another friction fire with me, so that's going to be a good time. Yeah, we'll sit down, man. Go to Blackie's, and we'll talk more down there. But it's, guys, it's 9 o'clock. I appreciate every one of you out there. Remember, say our prayers for first responders. Make sure everybody's safe, drive safe in the weather. And I'll see you guys next Thursday, God willing, right? So everybody be safe out there, have fun. We'll see you next Thursday. Bye.